Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Priya. I'm from School of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Today I represent about the endocrine system. So let's talk about the endocrine system. So endocrine system, the two body systems are responsible for sending and receiving sensory informations and coordinating body response, right? These are the nervous systems and the endocrine system together make sometimes refer as a neuroendocrine system. So endocrine system regulate body activities like releasing hormones, chemical messengers into the bloodstream, whether they are carrying throughout the entire body, right? So hormone response may be almost maybe occur the day later, and there are a wide variety of hormonal effects. Let's talk about the introduction about the hormones, right? So hormones are the chemicals synthesized and produced by the specialized gland, control and regulate the activity of certain cells and organs. These specialized glands are known as the endocrine glands, right? So hormones are defined as an organic substance produced in a small amount of specific tissues and excrete into the bloodstream and control the metabolic and biological activity in the target cells. They are regarded as the chemical messengers. Hormones and endocrine system coordinate and control growth, metabolism, temperature regulation, stress hormones, reproductions and other functions. Hormones act in a very low concentrations, right? In endocrine gland may be produce more than one hormones. So let's talk about the examples. The pituitary gland, adrenal cortex and pancreas. Next, a physiological process may be regulated by more than one hormone. Often these hormones oppose action of each other, right? Blood glucose levels, insulin and glucagon. So cell signaling. These effect hormones depend how they are released, right? Hence signaling effect can be classified into the following: autocrine, paracrine, intracrine and endocrine. So let's talk about the autocrine. These hormones act on the cell that secreted it, right? Paracrine glands. The hormones act on nearby the cell without having enter into the bloodstream. Intracrine, that hormones is produced in the cell, act as intracellularly, that means inside of the cell. Endocrine means the hormone act on the target cells once it's released from the respective glands into the bloodstream. Now let's talk about the types of hormones. So type of hormones, there are the two types, that is steroid hormones and peptide hormones. So peptide hormones are composed of amino acids. They are soluble in the water. Peptide hormones are unable to pass through the cell membrane. It contains a phospholipid bilayer. They stop any fat insoluble molecules from diffusing the cell. Insulin is an important peptide hormone produced by pancreas. Let's talk about the steroid hormones. Steroid hormone, unlike peptide hormones, steroid hormones are fat soluble. If they are fat soluble, definitely they will be enter into the phospholipid bilayer, right? So able to pass through the cell membrane. 6 hormones called testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, example of steroid hormones. So what is placebo effect? Placebo effect is a phenomena where the usage of certain substance perceived beneficial impact is created, right? A placebo can be solution, sterile water or pill of sugar. It is known as have to medical significance and hence is considered as a fake treatment. So placebo effect is kind of fake treatment. However, in some cases, they tend to produce real response, right? So what plays a major role in placebo effect is the expectation of the patient. The more one expect the treatment work, the chances of exhibiting a placebo response are higher. So that means with the help of placebo effect, the chances of the effect, they will be sometime more higher as compared to general treatment, right? So in the scenario, the patients are not aware of the treatment, they are receiving actually a placebo. Instead of they believing they are being administered with real treatment, a placebo is formulated in such as the way it seems like a real treatment. It in form of liquid pill, injections, right? A placebo is substance in inactive states, right? Consequence of medication administration which cannot be elicited with the treatments, right? So they will be kind of accredited treatments, right? Sometimes the placebo effect, they make a fake treatment. So these are the parts of endocrine system: pituitary gland, pineal gland, thyroid gland, thymus, adrenal gland, pancreas, ovaries and testes. So the whole glands with their secreted hormones. So these are the glands. Hypothalamus, it controls the body temperature, regulate emotions, hunger, thirst, sleep, and mood swings. Also allow the productions of hormones. Pineal is also known as the thalamus. It produces serotonin derivatives, melatonin, which affect the sleep patterns. Next is parathyroid. These glands help to controlling the amount of calcium present in our body. Definitely calcium is very important for the body. Thymus, it helps the production of T cells. The functioning of adaptive immune system and a maturity of the thymus. Definitely with the help of T cells, they provide the immunity and they will help to fight against the pathogens and the bacteria. Thyroid, it produces hormones that affect the heart rate and how the calories are burned. Adrenal, these glands produce the hormone that control the cortisols and also stress hormones. Next is pituitary gland. Pituitary is also termed as the master control gland, right? This is because of the pituitary gland help to controlling other glands. Moreover, it develops the hormones that trigger growth and development. Next is pancreas. The gland is involved in the production of insulin hormones, which play a crucial role of maintaining blood sugar level. Testes, in men, stress secretes the male sex hormones, testosterone, and also produce sperms. Now, next is list of important hormones. So what about the list of important hormones? That is cortisol, estrogen, melatonin, progesterone, right? So cortisol, it has been named as stress hormone. Has it helped the body in responding the stress, right? So when the patient or the person suffering from stress, so cortisol will help, right? It is done to increasing the heart rate, elevating blood sugar level. Next is estrogen. This is the main hormone present in the woman which brings about puberty, prepares uterus and the body pregnancy. Even they regulate the menstruation cycle. Next is melatonin. It primarily controls the circadian rhythm and sleep cycle. Next is the functions of hormones. Following are some important functions of hormones, that is food metabolism, growth and development, controlling thirst and hunger, maintaining body temperature, regulating mood and connections, initiating the maintaining sexual development and the reproductions. Now next is pituitary gland. In the previous slides, I already talked about the pituitary glands, right? So pituitary gland is also known as the hypophysis. This is a pea-sized endocrine gland situated at the base of our brain. It often referred to as a master gland because it produces sometimes important hormones in the body. It's situated in the bony structures called pituitary fossa. Just below the hypothalamus, close to the optic nerve, pituitary gland divided into the three parts of the lobes, right? So what about the lobes? That is anterior, intermediate and posterior. And intermediate absent in the adult human beings. So these are the diagram about pituitary gland, a small structure at the base of the brain which release a wide variety of hormones that in turn control activity of the blood bodies in the hormone glands, right? The influence of the hypothalamus on the pituitary glands. The hypothalamus control the release of hormones are from both anterior as well as the posterior pituitary, but in different ways. So definitely they both have the glands, but they have the different ways. So hormones of the pituitary glands, that is anterior, that is GH, TSH, ACTH, PRL, LH and FS. Posterior pituitary, that is vasopressin, ADH and oxytocin. So next is the posterior pituitary gland. The posterior pituitary work as a unit of the hypothalamus, although the posterior pituitary does not synthesize its own hormones. So that means they will not synthesize its own. It does store, release oxytocin and antidiuretic hormones, ADH, right, produced in the hypothalamus. OT, that means control uterine contraction during delivery and milk injections during breastfeeding. Next is ADH, causing retentions of the body water, controlling the body water's balancing mechanism. Next is anterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary secretes hormones, control the wide range of bodily activity. The hypothalamus regulates the anterior pituitary by producing the relaxing hormones or releasing hormones. The stimulate release of the anterior pituitary glands, the hormone inhibiting hormone to suppress release of anterior pituitary gland hormones. The anterior pituitary have 5 principal types of the cells, secrete 7 major hormones. So these are 7 hormones. First of all, GH. GH means growth hormones, which stimulate general body growth and regulate certain aspect of metabolism. TSH, that means thyroid stimulating hormones, which controls secretions and other activities of thyroid glands. Next is FSH and LH. FSH means follicle stimulating hormones and LH means luteinizing hormones. Together stimulate the secretion of estrogen and progesterone, right? Maturation of oocyte and ovaries, the secretion of the testosterone and sperm production in the testes. Prolactin, which intake milk injections or initiate the milk productions in the mammary glands. Next is ACTS and MSH, that means they will secrete glucocorticoids, and MSH, that is effect of skin pigmentations. So these are the summaries, right? Growth hormones regulate metabolism, promote tissue growth, especially of the bones and the muscles. Thyroid stimulating hormones stimulate growth and activity of thyroid gland and secretion of T3 and T4. ACTH, that is stimulate of adrenal cortex and secrete glucocorticoids. PRL means that is stimulate growth of breast tissues and milk production. Follicle stimulating hormones stimulate the production of sperm in testes, stimulating secretion of estrogens and ovaries, maturation of ovary follicles and ovulations. Next, luteinizing hormones stimulate secretion of testosterone in the testes, stimulate secretion of the progesterone and corpus luteum. Now next is thyroid gland. Thyroid gland are the ductless endocrine glands situated in the anterior and front of posterior of the gland. So in the endocrine system they have the totally duct and ductless. Ductless, that means they are not enter into the bloodstream, right? It roughly resembles the shape of butterfly. It also one of the largest endocrine gland. Weight about the 25 to 30 gram. The gland has two lobes either side of trachea, which each lobe measuring about 4 to 6 centimeter in the length and 1.3 to 1.8 centimeter in width. The primary function of thyroid gland is secreted two hormones, namely that is T3 and T4. Both T3 and T4 hormones play a very important role and affect almost every tissue in the body. So let's talk about the T4 and T3. T4 thyroxine is a hormone secreted by the thyroid gland in the bloodstream, right? It then travels to the organs such as kidney and liver, where they get converted into the active from triiodostines, right? Next is T3, thyroid hormone that affect the physiological process such as growth, development and metabolism. Next is thyroid symptoms. So let's talk about the thyroid symptoms. Sometimes symptoms of the thyroid disorder are not very obvious, right? This is because there are the various other factors can induce similar symptoms, and usually treatment is given according to the systems or symptoms. The instance excessive tiredness may be associated with sleep apnea, but the underlying symptoms may actually thyroid related, right? Some of the common symptoms. So let's talk about the common system. That is nervousness, poor contraction and the acknowledged retentions, changes in the menstruation cycle, increased heart rate, muscle acne, right, and weight gain, high level of cholesterol. So these are the diagram about the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland, right lobe, right, thyroid cartilage, left lobe, trachea. So thyroid stimulating hormones, that is TSH, the production of the thyroid hormone, thyroxine and triiodothyronine by the thyroid gland. The gland is present in the neck and resembles the shape of butterfly. It binds the receptors present in the cell in the thyroid gland and regulate the hormone production. These hormones are released in the bloodstream and the pituitary gland. Regulate the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormones. The thyroid stimulating hormone are responsible for maintaining body metabolic activities. They create negative effect of pituitary gland. The production of thyroid stimulating hormone is stopped if the level of the hormone produced very high, right? The production of the thyrotropin releasing hormone is ceased. The thyrotropin stimulating pituitary gland to produce TSH. Next is function of thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormone help with brain development and functions. It also helps with the muscle controls as well as the bone health. Regulate the metabolic rate of the body. It also regulates the metabolism of fat, proteins and carbohydrates. Thyroid hormone also help the protein synthesis, increase the body sensitivity to catecholamines, essential for the development and differentiation of the cells. Next is parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland are small endocrine glands situated just below the thyroid gland in the neck. They are usually 4 in number, 2 behind each thyroid gland. They are very small, pea-sized, weight about the 50 gram. The gland functions maintaining calcium and phosphorus levels in our body, right? So definitely the parathyroid gland, they will help to maintain the calcium and the phosphorus. Until the 20th century, scientists failed to recognize the gland. In the 20th century, they didn't resemble about the parathyroid glands separate from the thyroid gland, because the small size of parathyroid glands, now the two glands can be differentiated easily, as the thyroid gland have a follicular structures. The cell of parathyroid gland are densely packed. So these are the diagram about the parathyroid gland. If you see that 4 dotted lines, so these are the parathyroid gland. The functions of parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland release the parathyroid hormone, that is PTH, also known as the parathormones, right? It is small peptide that maintain homeostasis of the calcium and phosphorus, and also aid to the bone physiology. Let us how the hormone functions, right? Calcium. The parathyroid hormone function to release calcium from the bone and stimulating the osteoblasts. It facilitates gastrointestinal calcium absorption by vitamin D, activating of vitamin D. It also promotes the calcium reabsorption in the kidney. Normal calcium level in our body support to strong nervous and muscular system. Next is phosphorus. It inhibits the absorption of phosphorus in the kidney. However, the hormone increase the absorption of phosphorus in the gastrointestinal tract by activating the vitamin D. Next is activation of vitamin D. The PTH also help the activations of vitamin D by upregulating the enzyme 1-alpha hydroxylase. Next is adrenal gland. The paired adrenal gland is lies superior to kidney enclosed within the renal fascia. They are about 4 cm long and 3 cm thick. The adrenal gland composed of the outer adrenal cortex in the inner adrenal medulla. The adrenal cortex produce the total about 40 different hormones, which are collectively known as the corticosteroids. The complete loss of adrenocortical hormones leads to death within a few days or week due to the dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. So these are the diagram about the right adrenal gland, left adrenal gland, kidney, cortex and medulla, right? The glands are composed of 2 parts which have different structures and function. Definitely the outer part of cortex and the inner part of medulla. The adrenal cortex is essential to life, but the medulla is not. So that means the cortex is very important as compared to medulla. If you see this diagram, the cortex is the outer part and medulla is the inner part. The hormones of adrenal glands, that is adrenal cortex, cortisol, corticosterone, cortisone, aldosterone and androgens. Adrenal medulla, that is epinephrine and non-epinephrine. Let's talk about the adrenal cortex. The adrenal cortex produces the 3 groups of steroid hormones from the cholesterol. They are collectively called as the adrenocorticoid, right? The group of that is glucocorticoids, melano and sex hormones, androgens. The hormones in each group have different characteristics, actions, but they are structurally similarly, actions may be overlaps. So that means the structures may be similar, but they have different functions. Let's talk about the glucocorticoids. Cortisol, that is hydrocortisone, is the main glucocorticoid, but small amount of corticosterone and cortisone are also produced. Commonly, these are collectively known as steroids. They are essential for life. Definitely, it's very essential regulating the metabolism and response to stress. So, cortisol with the help and regulate the metabolism as well as the stress hormones. It stimulates the ACTH from the anterior pituitary by the stress. Glucocorticoid having anti-inflammatory action. Definitely with the help of glucocorticoids, they will help to fight against the inflammations. That is anti-inflammatory actions. Next is melanocorticoids. Aldosterone is the main melanocorticoid. It involved the maintaining water and electrolyte balance. Through the negative feedback system, it stimulates the reabsorption of the sodium by the renal tubules, excretion of potassium in the urine. Sodium reabsorption is also accompanied by the retention of the water. Therefore, aldosterone is involved in the regulating of blood volume and blood pressure too. Blood potassium levels regulate the aldosterone secretion in the adrenal cortex. When blood potassium level rise, more aldosterone is secreted. So that means when the potassium level will be high, that time aldosterone is secreted. Low blood potassium have opposite effect. Angiotensin See below that stimulating the release of aldosterone. So let's talk about the renin angiotensin aldosterone system, right? That is mean RAS system. When the renal blood flow is reduced or blood sodium level fall, the enzyme renin is secreted by the kidney. That means when the sodium level will be down, that time kidney secrete renin. Renin convert plasma protein angiotensin Jan, that is produced by the liver, to angiotensin 1, right? Angiotensin converting enzyme, that is with the help of ACE, form the small quantities of lungs, proximal kidney tubules and other tissues. Convert angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, which stimulates secretion of aldosterone. Angiotensin 2 cause vasoconstriction, increase blood pressure, closing the negative feedback loop. So these are the diagram about the Bowman capsule, afferent arterioles, glomerulus, sodium, water, cortex, outer medulla, inner medulla, nephron, right? So basically this is the structure of nephron. Next is adrenal medulla. The medulla is completely surrounded by the adrenal cortex. It develops four nervous tissues in the embryo and is a part of sympathetic nervous system. When stimulated, these extensive sympathetic nerves supply the gland, release hormones. Adrenaline, that is epinephrine, about 80%, and non-adrenaline, non-epinephrine, about the 20%. Now let's talk about the epinephrine and non-epinephrine. Non-adrenaline is a prostaglandin neurotransmitter of the sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system. Adenine, some noradrenaline released into the blood from the adrenal medulla during stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. The action of these hormones prolong and augment stimulating these sympathetic nervous systems. Next is pancreas. Since the pancreas is classified as both the endocrine organ as exocrine organ, definitely duct and ductless. It will be also be discussed again the digestive system. That means the pancreas also they will help in the discuss and work with the digestive system. There are three main types of the cells in the pancreas, that is alpha cells, beta cells and delta cells. So let's talk about the alpha cells which secrete the glucagon. Beta, that means most numerous, secrete insulin, and delta secrete somatostatins. So this is a diagram about the pancreas, right? Next, the normal blood glucose level between 3.5 and 8 millimole liter, about 60 to 144 mg per 100 ml. The blood glucose level controlled mainly by the opposing action in the insulin and glucagon. So they have the opposite actions. Glucagon increase, blood glucose level increase. Insulin reduce, blood glucose level reduce. Next is insulin. Its main function is to lower raised blood nutrient level, not only glucose but also amino acids and fatty acids. These effects are described as anabolic. For example, they promote storage of nutrient. When nutrients, especially glucose, are excess in immediate need, insulin promote their storage by. Now next is mechanism by which insulin lower the blood glucose level. Acting on cell membrane, stimulating uptake, use the glucose by muscles and connective tissues. Increasing conversions of glucose to glucagon, especially in the liver and the skeletal muscles. Accelerating uptake amino acids by the cells, the synthesis of the protein. Promoting synthesized fatty acids and storage of fat in adipose tissues. Decreasing glycogenesis and break down the glucagon into the glucose. So you see that this diagram with the help of flow with the red work, the high blood sugar, that means promote insulin release in the pancreas. After the insulin, tissue cells, lower blood sugar, right? So that means they will produce glucagon to glucose into the glucagon. If the blood sugar level raised, right? So definitely what happened, the glucagon in the pancreas, right? Again they will be glucagon converted into the glucose. Now let's talk about the glucagon. Glucagon increase blood glucose level by stimulating conversion of glucagon to glucose in the liver and skeletal muscles. Secretion of glucagon is stimulated by low blood sugar glucose level and exercise and decreased by somatostatin in insulin. So somatostatin, these hormones also produced by the hypothalamus, inhibiting the secretion of both insulin and glucagon. In addition on inhibiting the secretion of growth hormones from the anterior pituitary. Next is pineal gland. So pineal gland is a small body attached to the roof of the third ventricle, is connected it by the short stalk containing nerve, many of which terminate in the hypothalamus. The pineal gland is about the 10 mm long, reddish brown color and surrounded by the capsule. The gland tend to atrophy after puberty and may become calcified in a later life. So you will see this purple color, this is the pineal gland, right? Next is thymus. The thymus gland was previously discussed in the lymphatic system lessons, right? Hormones produced by the thymus gland are thymosin. These hormones promote the proliferation and maturation of T cells, white blood cells, which destroy the microbes and foreign substance. Thymic hormones may also help to retarding an aging process. So this is the diagram about the thymus. Local hormones, that means histamines. This is synthesized and stored by the mast cells in the tissues and the basophilic in the blood. It released as a part of inflammatory response, especially when caused by allergy. Serotonin. This is the present in the platelet in the brain in the intestinal wall. It causes intestinal secretions and constriction of the smooth muscles and its role of the hemostasis, that means blood clotting. It is a neurotransmitter in the central nervous system CNS and is known to influence mood. Prostaglandin, that means PG. These are the lipid substance found in the most tissues. They act on the neighboring cells but their actions are short-lived. So that means the action is very short. They are quickly metabolized. Prostaglandin have the potent and wide-ranging physiological effect. The inflammatory response, spotting pain, fever, regulating blood pressure, blood clotting, and uterine construction during labor. So these are the questions, right, about this endocrine system, that is hormones of the anterior pituitary gland, hormone of posterior pituitary gland, master gland of our body, that is pituitary gland. T4, T3, functions of prolactin, which hormones lower the raised blood calcium level, which hormone raise the blood calcium level, hormones of adrenal cortex, hormones of adrenal medulla, function of follicle stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormones, hormones of parathyroid gland, hormones of thyroid gland, hormones of pineal gland, sex hormones, male and females. So I've done this topic. Thank you very much.